Chapter 61, An Accident in Actual Combat 2. This was especially so since he had not activated the corresponding genetic base points. It was extremely difficult to get started. Based on the introduction of the secret technique, it was impossible for someone to learn it in half a month. It was more common for someone to not be able to learn it in a few months or even years. This was why students from the Mystery Branch's School of Superb had to activate the corresponding genetic base points before they were accepted into the college. Otherwise, wouldn't they be completely useless if they could not learn it for a few years after being accepted into the School of Superbs? Mr. Wen Xiao shouldn't know that I can activate my genetic base points at will, right? Suddenly, Zhu Tui felt that Mr. Wen Xiao's kindness toward him today seemed to be tinged with ill intentions. Zhu Tui's ability to sense genetic base points through his illusory introspection should be able to reduce the difficulty by a little. However, it would not be as easy to learn as from the version 4.9 of Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique that Zhao Soxui gave. After going through the list, Zhu Tui placed the 5 Superb Type Cultivation Technique projection cards to the side. He would consider that when he had a large amount of money in the future, and had mastered version 4.9 of the Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique. If he knew everything, he would be lacking in every way. It was better to specialize in the same skill. Just like in Zhao Soxui, I should focus on training. At this stage, I should focus on training my mind power and the consciousness forging technique. I should be able to easily activate the 10th genetic base point of the first level of the Mind Concentration Foundation Forging Technique tonight, right? The night's training went smoothly. However, the Level E Energy Restoration Elixir consumed a lot of energy. He could use up 2 bottles in one night. If his mind power increased again in a few days, he might even spend 3 bottles in one night. Zhu Tui smelled a faint fragrance the moment he woke up in the morning. It was the aroma of sandalwood mixed with the scent of fresh flowers. Luo Murong had already woken up. The door was half open. The sandalwood scent was coming from Luo Murong's room. He could vaguely see that Luo Murong was in a horse stance. He was training. Extreme branch. There was also an incense burner that was emitting green smoke. Where did the fragrance of the flowers come from? He searched everywhere. Zhu Tui found 3 large bouquets of beautiful flowers at the entrance of the dormitory. Zhu Tui was elated. Did someone send him flowers? Gongling, it could only be her as for Cheng Mo. Zhu Tui shook his head at the shuddering scene. There was a message slip in the bouquet. The smile on Zhu Tui's face disappeared after he scanned through the message. For my dear brother Murong. Good morning, young Master Luo. I hope that your mood today is as good as the sun. Brother Murong, the flowers are like me. They are willing to fall into your hands. Zhu Tui was speechless. He was fed with spoonfuls of sweetness so early in the morning. And there were 3 packets of it. However, it was not appropriate to place the flowers at the door. Zhu Tui wanted to bring them in. Don't move it. Just leave it there. If you are willing to bring it in, you will be in charge of such matters in the future, Luo Murong said from within the room. Zhu Tui was speechless. Hey Emph, do you think I'm willing to move it? I'm just a hard-working bee. He washed his face, brushed his teeth, ate, and went to class. Zhu Tui lived a rather regular life for the next 3 weeks. He attended classes, ate, and trained. He went to the Genetic Research Institute on the weekends to be a garbage mover. Then, Zhu Tui became a long-term cleaner in dorm 1604. It was Luo Murong's first week of cleaning. Zhu Tui had only glanced at it but did not look closely. However, it was really clean. However, Luo Murong managed to find many problems with Zhu Tui during his second week of cleaning, such as the surface of the toilet had not been washed. So, Zhu Tui was re-elected. The 3rd week had basically passed. However, Luo Murong still managed to find a few faults in his hygiene. He should have no problems becoming a cleaning staff in his 4th week. Zhu Tui felt a little cheated, but he had to endure it. A man had to keep his word. Zhu Tui had grown very quickly during these 3 weeks. There were a total of 36 genetic base points in the first level of the version 4.9 of Mind Concentration Foundation forging technique. Zhu Tun had activated the 31st. He would be able to complete the first level in the next 7 to 8 days. He had achieved the so-called elementary level of instantiation. However, in reality, Zhu Tui had already completed the so-called elementary instantiation 3 days ago. He flipped through the book as if it was a toy. Currently, Zhu Tui did not have to use his hands to flush the toilet or turn on the tap. He switched to mind power. Well, it was clean and hygienic. This was especially so for public bathrooms. He studied every day and made great progress in his theory. He had gained a lot, however, the size of his wallet decreased faster than he had expected. In the past, 1 or 2 bottles of level E energy restoration elixirs would have allowed him to activate 1 genetic base point. Now, he needed 5 to 6 bottles to activate a genetic base point that was ranked near the back. In the genetic ability chain, activating the genetic base points at the back of the sequence consumed a large amount of energy. Thanks to Mr. Bian Yuan's attentive guidance, Zhu Tui understood what was going on theoretically. The reason was simple: the genetic ability chain was a collective ability. Even though he had activated a new genetic base point in his ability chain, he had to first strengthen the structure of the genetic ability chain before he could activate a new genetic base point. That meant that when a genetic base point was activated in the same genetic ability chain, it would also strengthen the genetic base points that were already activated. That was why the activation of the ability at the later stages required such a large amount of energy. Similarly, the more genetic base points a genetic ability chain had, the more difficult it was to activate it. Of course, the benefits were obvious. The radius of his mental senses expanded once again.